There's a procedure that happens millions of times a year, pretty much every single day, quietly saving lives in the background. We're talking, of course, about the blood transfusion. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain on it.
Yeah, we see it all the time in medical dramas and on the news. It's always this super dramatic moment. But what's the real story? The actual step-by-step process is, honestly, this incredible feat of medical safety and precision. So what really goes on? Let's dive in and find out. Okay, so first things first. Let's start with the most basic question of all. Why? I mean, we usually think of transfusions for, like, big accidents, right? But the reality is actually so much broader than that.
The thing to get here is that a transfusion isn't just some one-size-fits-all fix. It's a really targeted therapy. For instance, it could be for something called symptomatic anemia. That's when you don't have enough red blood cells, and you just feel totally exhausted and weak. Or it could be to manage the incredible pain of a sickle cell crisis. Sometimes it's all about stopping bleeding when your platelet counts are way too low. But no matter the reason, the end goal is always, always the same. Get the body's ability to deliver that life-giving oxygen back on track.
I love this analogy because it makes it so clear. Just think of your red blood cells as this giant nationwide oxygen delivery service. Now, what happens if that fleet is too small or maybe the trucks are all broken down? Well, deliveries start failing, right? A transfusion is basically like calling in a brand new, fully staffed, perfectly working fleet to get the whole system up and running again. Simple as that. All right, so now we know why someone might need one, but hold on. Before a single drop of blood is actually given, this incredibly detailed safety checklist kicks into gear. And believe me, this is the part where meticulous preparation is absolutely everything. What's so interesting when you look at this is just how comprehensive the whole assessment is. I mean, look where it starts, with the human element. It's about understanding and respecting the patient's cultural and religious beliefs. Then it gets into the clinical must-haves, getting informed consent, checking vitals, making sure the patient is actually stable enough for the procedure. And check out that last point. Vitals are monitored continuously for the first hour. That level of vigilance, it's completely non-negotiable. And this image here really lays out the whole picture, doesn't it? You can see everything laid out, from the specific supplies you need, like that 0.9% normal saline, all the way to the detailed risks they're constantly monitoring for, like infection or iron overload. It's a complete system, and it's all designed for one single purpose: patient safety. And this right here? This might be the single most important rule in the entire process. Think about it. It's not enough for just one person to check that the blood is the right type. Nope. 2 qualified people have to check it, and they have to do it independently. It's a critical backup system, a redundancy that's specifically designed to prevent a potentially fatal mistake. Okay, so all the safety checks are done, everything's double-checked. Now we get to the main event. Let's unpack what actually happens during the transfusion itself, moment by moment. So the list of supplies is super specific and totally standardized. You got the blood product itself, obviously, but you've also got a bag of normal saline, a special kind of IV tubing that has a filter built right in to catch any tiny clots, and sometimes you'll even have an IV pump or a blood warmer. The whole setup is designed to be completely controlled and predictable every single time. And here's a really cool little piece of science for you. Why only normal saline? Well, it's because it's what's called an isotonic solution. All that means is it has the same salt concentration as our own cells. If you used other common IV fluids, say ones with sugar like dextrose, it would actually cause the delicate red blood cells to swell up and literally burst. That process is called hemolysis, and it would make the transfusion totally useless and pretty dangerous. It's just a perfect little example of chemistry saving the day. And it's so important not to forget the human side of all this. With all the equipment and the strict protocols, the medical team is always focused on the patient's dignity, their privacy, and their comfort. Because at the end of the day, it's about treating a person, not just a condition. Now, of course, like with any medical procedure, there are potential risks. That's a given. But the key is how those risks are managed. I like to think of the medical team as being like a constant watchtower, always on the lookout for the absolute earliest signs of any kind of reaction. This right here is such a crucial piece of information, mainly because it's about empowering the patient. It's totally normal to feel a bit of a cool sensation where the IV is. No big deal. But the signs on the other side, things like a sudden feeling of flushing or itching, shortness of breath, or a really specific pain in your back or flank, those are the warning bells. Patients are always taught to report any of that immediately so the team can stop the transfusion and jump in right away.
So, the last drop of blood has been infused, the bag is empty, but we're not quite done yet. The process isn't over. Now it's time to close the loop with really careful follow-up and documentation. Just look at the level of detail here. Every single aspect of the procedure gets meticulously recorded. Why? Well, this creates a permanent legal record of what happened. It provides vital information for any transfusions the patient might need in the future. And really, it serves as the final quality check on the entire process, from start to finish.
You know, when you step back from all the steps, all the protocols, all the safety checks, it really boils down to this one simple, incredibly powerful idea: one bag of blood. It's a profound gift of life, given from one person to another. And that really brings us to our final question. This whole life-saving process, it's only possible because of voluntary donors. It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? What does it take